One of the key truths to meditation is that there is nothing really external needed. There's nothing that you need to do or take or have or accomplish or get away from. So this realization is essential to finding peace. It is in the nature of understanding, as Maharaj said, that leads to freedom. And all you have to do to understand is to hold something in your mind until it reveals itself. So maybe at the start or in the middle there is confusion, but this is perfectly natural. As with learning anything, you hold it in your mind, you meditate on it, and eventually the understanding comes, because the pure awareness, which is what is behind thoughts, absorbs the knowledge, the wisdom, which is already connected to the universal awareness, and it reveals that you already are that. You already are the pure awareness, which is everything. So sitting in a calm place, sit down in a position that is relaxed. Being in a relaxed state of mind and body really helps with meditation. And this is why you want to lead a life that is purer and not overstimulated, and why a lot of yogis come back to that simple truth that you want to avoid distractions, and through life and understanding that there is no real happiness to be found necessarily in external objects, not true, deep, lasting happiness. There are certain things that can bring relief, and certain things that do have a level of joy with people and relationships. However, the core truth is that everything is impermanent, and to be free of the craving and the repulsion away from things and towards things on a fundamental level, where you're not looking for validating your sense of self or finding true meaning in the external world, that understanding is really part of the freedom that unfolds naturally. And part of that process is the kind of falling away of that separate self, and understanding that you don't need anything external. And in fact, nothing externally really can make you happy lastingly. It's all temporary. When you start to notice these patterns in your life, especially if you accomplish something you think is going to make you happy, and you realize that with the adaptation mentally we get used to things very quickly, and even with the relief from pain or suffering, unless we do mental exercises to be grateful, we also reset into a place where our environment is not stimulating enough to keep us in a state of happiness, so we grow restless. And all of this is pointing to the truth that if we want deep and lasting freedom and a level of feeling okay and joy, we have to find that from within. So the question is, how do we find that? And to find that peace, it's simply to really come back to the inner stillness and the inner peace and quiet silence that is pure consciousness, free of any content, which is the power behind thoughts and feelings. So the fundamental truth is that you already are that awareness. You already are completely free. Awareness is always free. That fundamental truth is so liberating and so joyful to understand that no matter your state of mind, no matter how low your state of mind or feelings are, you can always switch your awareness, because awareness is always free. And so the key is not to switch it to something else externally in the world, or someone else, or trying to find a solution, or focusing even on being grateful necessarily, although all those things have their place. With meditation, we're trying to come back to being aware that we are pure awareness. Become aware of the fact that what we are is always free. And to do that, we practice self-inquiry, which is simply gently coming back to the question, who is it that is having this experience? Who is it that is thinking? Who is it that is feeling? And when you start to look at that with a quiet mind, and you start to see that beyond thoughts, you are the awareness behind thoughts. You are the thing that gives thoughts power, the silent space before thought arises. And in that unhooked, unknowing knowing, where you're not thinking about anything, but there's a quiet knowing that what is all there is. And so when you come back to these fundamental and essential truths through self-inquiry, you start to become more and more confident and certain of the truth, that you don't need to chase the external things in the world as much. You can come back to this inner stillness and quiet mind and be free. You have the tools now, so self-inquiry, questions, who is experiencing this pain? And you realize that the language behind any identification is temporary too. I is just a thought, me is just a thought. And it takes time to really meditate on these concepts, because we've been using them for 40, 50, 60 years over our lifetimes. The I has been ingrained since when we were younger and learned to use language to describe a concept of self around the age of 3 or 4. And so with decades of using this, it takes time to see through the illusion. But fortunately, it is just an illusion, so it has lots of holes in it. The illusion of being a separate self. And some of those things are that the I doesn't really do anything. It's a concept. I is just a word. It's just a thought. The I is not doing the hearing. Hearing is happening. Consciousness is animating the body, and the ear structure is listening to the sounds, and it's being absorbed through consciousness. The I is a reference, a structure that is useful in everyday life to say as a reference, this is me, and I am saying these words, and I, whatever it is you need to do. However, to look through that language is incredibly freeing and can give you a real sense of freedom from suffering, freedom from your storyline. So throughout your day, the best thing to do is to really come back to these questions in times when you need them. So take the time throughout your day to come back to these questions and apply them to every state of mind that you come across.